For stress claims, what you need to know is that workers' comp does cover them, but it's really, really hard. Down in South Philly, there was a shooting at a rec center. It took place outside the physical building, but bullets penetrated the building. But we were able to show that it was not, that it absolutely was an abnormal working condition, that despite what you think you hear in the news, shootings at rec centers don't happen all the time. And even when they do, they're often connected to things like sporting events, like basketball games or things like that. This was, who knows what was going on. But there was some type of shooting outside the rec center that bullets actually penetrated the building. I represented a SEPTA subway clerk. Some of the subway stops have booths that you can buy the tokens down in the subway. And she was there, 7 o'clock in the morning, and she witnessed a murder that was ultimately determined to be the act of a serial killer. And she was petrified because she saw the man, he looked right at her, she was the only person around. Now she's in a protective booth, but it turned out that they then discovered that this man was a serial killer, had murdered a number of people. And SEPTA actually intended to come into court and prove that it was not an abnormal working condition for subway clerks to witness murders. And I said to the attorney, are you kidding me? Do you really want the headline in the Daily News tomorrow to be that SEPTA thinks that it is a normal working condition for subway clerks to be exposed to, murders and violence? Ultimately, the woman felt better, got back to work. The case wound up getting resolved. They did not, continue to fight the case. But for stress claims, it really has to be egregious. It really has to be an outrageous circumstance. Some of the things that have come my way over the years, things that involve racial or sexual harassment, those are cases I'll take, because no work environment should have that. No work environment should anybody anywhere be subjected to racial epithets or sexual harassment type comments or physical activities. No place that should happen. But the courts really do look. And so, a truck driver who, let's say, is a religious person, doesn't want to hear cursing, doesn't want to hear, any kind of language, it's not just about him, it's about the circumstances. So the courts are going to say, we're not going to give you a stress claim because the kind of salty language you're describing is typical in a truck depot. It may not be typical for an office environment, but it's typical for a, and there was a very famous case for a long time that involved coal miners. And the courts, the first appeal court to hear the case said, pretty much anything goes in a coal mine. And it took the Supreme Court to say, no one should be subjected to that kind of harassment. And it was pretty egregious. And but the first court to hear it said, pretty much anything goes in a coal mine. What I generally recommend to people is avail yourselves of benefits that you may have, like wage continuation or disability benefits or sick time. The fact that workers' comp doesn't cover it doesn't mean it's not a serious thing and that you shouldn't be abiding by your doctor's orders or taking the time off that you're your doctor's giving you. There's a reason for that, but it just may not be covered under workers' compensation.